this is Brian Rezny, president of Rezny Wealth Management, bringing you an important update about the economy and the investment markets. Well, we're almost done with the first quarter of 2025. There's been all types of concerns in the overall media about tariffs, deportations, of course, the border, deregulation, taxation, all types of things that are really overall would affect the economy. Are we concerned at Rezny Wealth Management? Well, we're always concerned about everything, and that's why we manage money, because we need to be concerned, but we also need to be concerned in a constructive manner. And let me explain. While tariffs may be a big thing to some, and while the media may pump up the tariffs are the worst thing in the world, and other media outlets might say they're the best thing in the world, generally speaking, tariffs have been around for centuries, and they're not going to go away anytime soon. Tariffs, although we look at them as a very useful tool for the current administration in order to get our overall trade deficits back in check and in line, and really create fair trade with other countries. Remember, the U.S. really has been the piggy bank for almost all countries around the world in some form or fashion. And often what it was is other countries could import their products to us, but if we try to import products to them, they would then slap tariffs on our products. Again, not a level playing field. This current administration is going to fix that, and I firmly believe it needs to be fixed because our overall trade deficit is somewhere close to $1 trillion a year. That's a lot of money, and it's a lot of money over a long period of time. It only multiplies out. So tariffs are very useful. Tariffs, generally speaking, are not going to cause widespread inflation. If anything, what we're going to find is tariffs will probably bring down inflation, which we're ultimately seeing in the U.S. economy. Inflation is trending in the right direction. I think talks of tariffs and what has been implemented will help ultimately. The U.S. economy is doing good. We're not in any signs of recession, although I've noticed in the last few weeks, a lot of media outlets are all screaming now, recession, recession, recession. Again, we do not see signs of recession for 2025. We do research every single day. We see a growing U.S. economy. We see normal volatility back to normal the first 6 months of this year. We were correct on the pullback that we've seen so far this year. We expected a 10, 12, maybe 15% pullback in the equity markets. We kind of got most of that. We could still have more dips throughout the year, but generally speaking, the economy is growing. I see the second half of 2025 greatly improved, but ultimately I'm looking at the next 3 to 5 years. I see the growth opportunity in the U.S. marketplace immense. I see U.S. companies doing better than they've ever done as we transition to 26 and 27 years. I see the overall equity markets have great opportunity. I firmly believe that investors that are positioned properly in growth style investments, primarily in the U.S., are going to be the recipients of great opportunity. As always, when we talk about the volatility in the market, when we talk about future returns, I always like to temper, look at the long term. What happens in the next 3 weeks, 3 or 6 months is not indicative of the overall either equity markets, the bond market, real estate, gold, or the overall growth of the U.S. economy. But we do need to get our financial house in order, and this is the first administration that is really doing the right job. If we go back to when Clinton was in office, remember Bill Clinton? A lot of headlines around that person, of course. He actually did a great job with the overall economy. We had a surplus in the budget under Clinton. But that's when Republicans and Democrats were somewhat more normal and they actually worked together. This president hopefully will get us in the next 2 to 3 years more to an even budget where we don't have a big overspend problem, but we actually potentially have a budget that's within line of tax revenues. We are not building up the deficit historically like we have. And ultimately in the next decade, we start bringing down that deficit, which would be great for the U.S. economy. We'll inflate our way out of the debt. We'll pay down debt over time. But ultimately, growing the U.S. economy is the #1 priority. And if that happens, the poor do better, the middle class do better, and of course, the rich do better. America does great. Everybody thrives around the world. We're well positioned for that in our opinion. And as always, as a client of the firm, If you have any concerns or questions, please call the office. Of course, we always appreciate your business, your trust, and remember us when you talk to your friends and family. Referrals are always a growth aspect for Rezny Wealth Management, and referrals are really the lifeblood of a growth business for our firm. So think about us, because your friends are probably not being as treated as well as you ultimately are with your portfolio. Have yourself a safe and profitable day.